In this video demonstration, we're going to take a quick look at the Pacejet Shipment Savings Report and how you can use it to keep an eye on the savings you can generate through rate shopping, but also the potential savings you might be able to generate by comparing your different options in shipping. We'll also, in the course of looking at that, see how the decisions you have to make in fulfillment to maximize customer service can actually impact your profitability, and keep track of that, because there are many times when those decisions are appropriate. You just want to know what's the impact on the business. So what we're going to do here quickly is we're going to use an example, a couple of orders here in an example ERP system. I think I'll just take one and run it through a couple of scenarios and talk about then how the Shipment Savings Report can help. So I've got an order here in my ERP system. As you've seen with many other demonstrations from Pacejet, we have integration with ERP systems as kind of a core competency. So everything we do is around that. So I made a copy of the order, and I'm going to take a look at just a basic freight quote process with Pacejet. So here's my order. I activated Pacejet. I've got auto packing on the items that are in here, so we can just do our freight quote. And we're going to get one carrier service and pricing back because it was preset in my order to go with Estes. Now, that might be satisfactory, and I'll just go ahead and select that quote so I can give the customer the price and the transit time, and I've got all the details here of that, the service fees that might be involved. So I've priced it out. But in this case, maybe the customer said, I want you to use Estes. That's who we trust the most. Or maybe you had a business reason for doing that. All makes perfect sense, happens all the time. We go back in our order, we've done our freight quote, and we've got a full price of the potential shipping for this order all in there. And then we go later on, maybe it's a day later or a couple of days later after we're ready to fulfill the process, and we fulfill this particular sales order. And I'm just going to use the one-by-one fulfillment process for this example. So we'll save it with the picking records, and then we'll just go ahead and process the shipment for this. Now, it comes in preset to Estes because that's what we quoted earlier. And of course, I could just run a quote and get an updated price if I wanted to. Or let's say I have a reason that I want to take a little closer look at my options for rate shopping across other carrier options. I can go ahead and do that. In this case, we see that R&L Carriers is cheaper. So I'm going to go ahead and let the system tell me to use R&L Carriers, and I'm not promoting any particular carrier here, just saying using visibility to find the various best options at the best time. So I've done that, processed my shipment. You can see 2 skids, the services, the total price, and of course, as usual, as we've talked about in different demonstrations, you can see all the documents like a bill of lading that were generated. So that's all great. It's all been updated in the ERP system. I have all my documents. The execution is done. Now, you're doing that all day long with parcel orders and UPS orders and USPS and FedEx and various LTL carriers. You're making decisions. Sometimes the orders are preset based on customer rules or your own policy. Other times you have the opportunity to rate shop. Sometimes a customer calls in and you have a customer service issue and you want to get things out faster. All of that activity is happening every day. How do you see a big picture of how it all comes together and impacting your costs, and how do you manage that? Well, one tool that I just wanted to focus on here in this demonstration is called the Shipment Savings Report. And if you take a look at that report, we'll just look at it for a short window of time here, you can see some interesting details that help you manage what you're spending and what your potential savings could be. So if we look at this report, what it does is it analyzes for a period of time the shipments that you've processed and the decisions that you made. And there's 3 different buckets that are organized here that are all then totaled up. So you can see here for the period that I ran several different shipments here, the total spend was $37,000. That's all of my shipments. There were 18 of them. And I had a potential savings in the process here of $9,000, which is a pretty substantial chunk. The breakdown then is in these different buckets. Probably the easiest to look at is this single quote option. This is where we spent basically $21,000 or half, a little more than half, on a couple of shipments where we didn't look at any other options. And maybe that was because the customer said, this is who I want you to use. Whatever the reason, which could be perfectly valid, we decided to go with that carrier at order entry, and all Pacejet did in shipping is let you execute the shipment. Now, if I look at the details in this window of time, you can see those couple of examples where I had 2 LTL orders one with ABF and one with Conway, their price, and we only quoted them. We only captured the price for them because we were directed to do that. So that's an area of potential savings because you made a decision to stick with that carrier and didn't look at any other options. The second area, all the way to the left here, is where Pacejet recommended a carrier based on comparison of various options and picking the lowest cost. That was $4,900, 13% of the total, and the savings here was $604.68. Now, because you actually chose the recommended option, you actually realized that savings. And that's the bottom line total here. Now, if we drill down by looking at this section in the report, you can see a lot of the details. This first example here has R&L carriers where we compared that on an LTL shipment, and we saved $78 here, as you can see out to the right. We actually looked at 11 different options, and this is the determination that we made. Same thing with this example. And of course, you can go down and see it works with parcel the same way, where in this example, we went with the post office USPS priority mail over UPS ground and saved $4.95. Here it was UPS over FedEx on a ground level, and it was only 7 cents. So you can see that across the window of time. And what's great, of course, over time, all that activity is just happening. You're making those decisions, or you're just executing out on the dock, and you don't have to make decisions. And we roll it all up for you. So you can see here the total savings that you realized by following rate shopping with these examples was $600 over this window of time. Now, the third example might be a little bit harder to decipher as you're looking at the report, but it is also very, very valuable. This is where you made a decision, probably for customer service purposes, to override the selection that we recommended. So if you look at that, there's $10,000 or an opportunity to save $8,474 that we chose not to take advantage of, and that was 7 shipments. So if you look down at the details here on the override group, you can see this is really about situations where we went a different direction, probably for a valid customer service reason, but this is where you might want to investigate. So in this example, we went with FedEx Priority Overnight instead of UPS Ground, which was the lowest cost option, and the cost difference was $600. There could have been a very good reason why we needed to get it there so quickly, but it's important that we know that. There's an example here where we went with SurePost, and it actually cost us a little bit more. So there's various options here. You can look up and down the list. LTL differences of $700 here, where the lowest cost was $500, and we went with a little bit more expensive carrier. So what's interesting about that then is it gives you a way to zero in on a window of time and really look at what decisions are you making and where does the automated comparison of carriers come in helping you make those choices along the way. Now, here's a little tip that not very many people realize as they look at using this report. There's actually a way to drill down and see what was on the screen at the moment in time when you made your decision. So let's take this example here where we made a decision to go with priority mail over UPS ground. These links, you might not notice it when you run the report, are actually clickable links that you can run, that you can click on, and it will show you the rate ship screen at the moment in time in the past. So you're looking back in time and seeing what was the user seeing on the screen, what was recommended when that choice was made. So that can actually let you see what were the rate shopping results and how did that decision get made when it was made. Well, hopefully this video demonstration was helpful. It's already a little bit long, but if you haven't had a chance, check out the Shipment Savings Report. It's a great way to help you manage what you're spending, what you're saving, what you could be saving, and make better decisions to drive a little bit more cost out of your shipping process.